They'll never know what you sacrificed for them.
It wouldn't change how they see me. And you don't. You don't hate me.
Given the chance and given your power, I'd bring my mom back. I know I would.
I'm sorry. For all the pain I caused.
I know.
I don't understand this power, but I will. Goodbye, Monica.
Bye, Wanda.
Hey, I'm Derek.
And I'm Noah, and you're listening to A Bite of,
where we take our current favorite pop culture obsession and enjoy it one nibble at a time.
That sounded really weird.
I tried to break up the syllables a little differently, and it sounded unnatural and crazy.
Thanks for that.
Welcome to the episode!
Yeah. So we have finally made our way through all of WandaVision.
What a journey. So many bites. I'm full. I'm nervous. I'm sad. All the things you do after a really good meal.
No. What? I would not compare this to a meal at all. It was a meal I did not want. How I felt afterwards is not how you want to feel after a meal.
I don't know. Some Thanksgivings I eat way too much and I just feel sad and nervous.
God, I can't believe you just compared her entire journey of grief.
Okay, well, you took it there. I just meant us breaking it down episode by episode right here on A Bite of.
God.
It's a commercial within a commercial within an episode.
All right, before we get started, we did want to announce that we have WandaVision merch. We got more hoodies on there. You want to be a Westview resident and rock it? Go to abiteofpod.com. Check out the merch there. You get tons of stuff. Yeah.
Heck yeah.
So this isn't our last WandaVision episode. What we decided to do was we got a bunch of listeners that told us they wanted a Q&A wrap-up episode at the end of each season. And we also want your help to do that episode. So we are taking questions, theories, what WandaVision character could win the Great British Bake Off, anything that you can think of. Send them to us on our social media. Find those posts. You can email us at abiteofpod@gmail.com. Go ahead, send them in. We're going to be doing this the week after. So send in your questions and let's talk about it. We want all of them.
Absolutely. I can't wait to see what all you folks think.
Yeah.
Good times. So let us take a look back at the last episode of WandaVision before we dive into this one. So the last episode was episode 8 called Previously On, and it literally was a journey through Wanda's timeline of how she got to where she is in Westview. Agatha was being pure Agatha, the most evil witch therapist there is in all the land, and she basically forced Wanda to relive some of the most awful points of her life.
I mean, immersion therapy, but with bad intentions. So, I think it was effective, but...
Question mark.
We learned that the Mind Stone unlocked whatever was in Wanda. She had always had that power, it just kind of amplified it. But we also found out that since she was a kid, she had power. She was the one that did a probability hex on the Stark bomb that didn't go off.
And she loved sitcoms.
Right.
Yes. And our last scene there was Wanda running out into the street, seeing the boys tied up in some sort of purpley, ropes, and Agatha professing that Wanda is the Scarlet Witch.
Right. So she got her first name drop. And that brings us to the final episode of WandaVision.
Heck yes. So spoiler alert. Really big spoiler alert. It's the big one. So, go watch if you haven't yet. So let us officially take a bite of WandaVision episode 9, the series finale.
Wah, wah.
The title is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And series finale. Oh.
Yeah, we knew this was a mini-series going into it. I don't know if that's how it's going to be for every show that comes out, but I believe Falcon and the Winter Soldier is that way as well.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Loki.
Yeah.
But Miss Marvel, I'm curious to see if that's going to be.
Oh, good call. They all sort of feel like when there's a really good series of a book, then there's novellas that are released to fill in the gaps. That's what these feel like.
Exactly. Actually, that's a pretty good point. Yeah. Novellas are just mini-series of books.
Exactly. How about that? So this episode starts off exactly where the last one left off.
We see Wanda, her face is concerned, and she's looking at Agatha as she still has the twins in her little purple rope things.
Yeah, and the boys try to run away, but sure enough, they get pulled back and slammed on their backs. So Wanda, being a very protective mother, as would anybody, I think, blasts Agatha. Agatha falls to the floor, says to her, "Yes, keep doing that. Keep giving me your powers."
When she first blasts her with magic, when she falls down in the background, the boys kind of escape a little bit and she tells them to go home, but then she like rises up like the fucking crypt keeper behind them, and
She's
I
like
lost
a
it.
vampire coming out of her coffin.
I lost it. It was so...
Can you guys just like hook me up to something that shoots me up to standing? Thanks, guys. And she says to Wanda, "I take power from the undeserving. It's kind of my thing. Why don't you surrender your magic to someone who knows what to do with it?"
Yeah, as we saw on the flashback or the origin of Agatha Harkness, she absorbed or took all of the magic from her mother and the Coven of Witches. So it seems like not only is she on this like journey to gain as much power and knowledge as she can with magic, but she can absorb it, which is a pretty cool power to have. I'm not going to lie.
Oh, for sure. But then we see on the other end of it, Wanda, her hand starts to change. Like it starts to turn all black and gross.
She gets that Dumbledore hand.
Heck yeah. Oh, of course, in response, as anyone would do, she throws a car at Agatha.
This is
into a
like
home.
Scarlet Witch's MO. She loves throwing cars at people.
I mean, you gotta use what you have. There's just cars everywhere. Why not chuck one at her?
I mean, she can change reality and do whatever she wants inside the hex, but yeah, go ahead. Throw your car. Your only Scarlet car in the entire town.
Brute force, baby.
She slams it into Agatha and it goes into the house, and we get a beautiful Wicked Witch, Wizard of Oz little throwback moment. Agatha was like, I have one chance to do this joke. I need to do this joke. So she literally like got out of her boots and left them there.
She had that in her back pocket for a while.
She was planning this the whole time.
Absolutely. So she's gone. Wanda turns around, and who comes down from the sky but one and only White Vision?
Fake Vision. Or can we call him Fission?
Woo!
Because, Pietro. Vision. I'm just putting an F in front of every fake person's name.
Also sounds very scientific. Fission. He's a robot. I get it. Totally.
So Wanda walks to him and she's like, "Is it really you?" Then Fission, touches her and is like, "Wanda." And then he proceeds to start trying to crush her head, just like the Mountain did in Game of Thrones.
Yes, it was very tender when the one hand went up, but then when the other hand went up, I got a little nervous. And then we heard a little crunchy noise, which was not fun.
I always find hilarious in movies and TV shows because it's like you don't need to add that, because then I'm questioning, is part of her skull broken? Like, what is cracking at this point?
Just those fixed joints just crunching together. We're gonna do a test run. We're gonna just grab each other's heads and start crushing. No noise, but the pain is real.
As this starts happening, of course, our Vision that we've had this entire series, the one that Wanda made, comes in and swoops and pushes them out of the way. So that leaves Wanda protected and with her head intact.
Yay! Couldn't ask for more in that instance there. So Agatha's floating in the air and she gives this one-liner and she says, "Oh, this is awkward. Your ex and your boyfriend at the same party. Who you gonna choose, Wanda?"
I mean, she's pushing her buttons this entire time. I love it, but also it's like, stop being such an ass.
and that's what I think that Agatha does, is that she likes to kind of hit you in your sensitive area. She likes to bring up things that you don't want her to bring up. She wants you to feel bad so that she can break you down mentally so she can get to you physically.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, she played the long game with Wanda this whole time, and she's not messing around in this one, for sure. So as Wanda and Agatha and both Visions fly off to fight, we see Monica, but she's being held captive in this dude bro's room of Pietro. Like, she tries to escape and he just taps her and she flies back.
I mean, he's wearing an oversized sweatshirt. Things look like half tiki bar nonsense. It's not the place you want to be.
No, not at all. So then back outside, we see Vision and Fission fighting in the air. We get some really cool... I just thought about this. This is our first action sequence of the entire series, which I guess is good that it's in the finale because you kind of need something to... It's the climax. Everything's coming to a head. There has to be a fight with these superheroes.
Oh, definitely. And everything else was a sitcom. You're not going to have these giant fights in sitcoms. So I think it makes sense that now that we've sort of dropped the sitcom barrier on all of this, it's real life. It's their real action-packed Avenger life.
Yeah, and it was stereotypical of MCU. It was the, CGI, practical effects, lasers, phasing. It's pretty cool. I mean, it's what you expect. It was nothing spectacular, but it was good.
I appreciate it.
So meanwhile, at Sword's operating base, Hayward is barking orders while Jimmy is brought in handcuffs. Jimmy quietly notices a cell phone on the table and tells Hayward, "You'll never be able to cover this up." Hayward then tells him Wanda canceled her show, so there's no footage proving that there was ever more than one Vision. Which, why was somebody not DVRing this? Come on. I know that Darcy had to have been recording this.
It was on an old television. She needed one that wasn't flat. I guess DVR isn't compatible.
Oh, you just hook it up to a VHS and then record it on there.
Listen, she barely got a television that she needed. She couldn't find a VHS, too.
Oh, jeez. Whatever. And then we get this stupid, horrible one-liner from Hayward. I hate him, and this made me hate him even more, because he said, "You could never be part of that victory, Jimmy. If only you had a little more," pauses for emphasis, "vision." You're not allowed to make puns or jokes, Hayward. It was bad.
It wasn't great.
You need to take that back.
Yeah, but he doesn't care. He's drunk with power. He's going to make all the puns that he wants. He doesn't care if they land or not. He's just going full steam ahead.
Yeah. Jimmy is then tossed aside, and then he uses a safety pin to get out of the cuffs, uses the cell phone to call in his guys back at Quantico.
Yeah, so what Jimmy Woo is doing here is proving that he is an amateur magician. So in our first appearance of Jimmy Woo, we saw the card trick, but now he's doing sleight of hand and stealing phones. He's breaking out of cuffs that you wouldn't think so. He has a safety pin somewhere on his body. And then he knows the passcode to the phone to call Quantico. He is a genius.
But we can't forget that he's at Flourish.
Once
he did it. So
he's watching. He's a fan.
Yeah, he's a fan of the show. He remembered that back from episode 2. So back in downtown Westview, Wanda finds everything looking a little more contemporary, clean. So we're like in current times in Westview. All of her, I guess, puppets, her neighbors are around, just going about their daily lives. So Agatha being on the rooftop, she starts giving a monologue, like villains usually do in the movie.
Monologuing.
But hey, we get some backstory and we get a little more insight. So she does name the book that she had, and it is the Darkhold. So we theorize correctly that that is the Darkhold. And just for clarification, she says the Book of the Damned.
That's right.
Just so you know that
she
is
said
this
title
one.
and subtitle.
Right. So then she starts like having a rambling of like this pretentious thing about the nature of the Scarlet Witch prophecy. Your power exceeds that of the Sorcerer Supreme. I mean, that has yet to be seen. I'm just saying. Stephen Strange is amazing.
Oh, is that who the Sorcerer Supreme is?
Yes. Oh. How dare you? That was the whole point of the Doctor Strange movie.
I mean, I don't know. Circles and stuff and shifting physical spaces.
She says, "It's your destiny to destroy the world." And then Wanda replies back, "I'm not what you say I am." And then Agatha smiles and says, "Oh, really?" What's building up since the last episode is that the Scarlet Witch is like a legend. It's a prophecy. It's like, I guess, the harbinger of the end of times or whatever that may be.
Yeah, she says something like the Scarlet Witch isn't born, she is forged.
Yeah.
Like in fire and destruction. Or like a sword in lava.
Or how Wanda's been going through this whole journey. And she's being forged into the Scarlet Witch.
You make it sound real bad, though.
I mean, I don't want to go through what Scarlet Witch went through to get to be the Scarlet Witch at all. Agatha then starts to chant in Latin. It's always Latin. I always find that hilarious that like magical things are always in Latin. It's like there isn't possibly any other spells in any other language.
Well, it's like in any fantasy series put on film or screen, they always have British accents.
Well, that's
no matter
true.
Where it takes place.
True. Like it takes place in Russia. They have British accents. So suddenly Dottie, as we know, the queen bee of the town from the previous episodes, gets unbrainwashed, unmind wiped. And she goes to Wanda immediately and tells her that her name is Sarah, that she has an 8-year-old daughter, and that she wants to see her.
She's like, let her out of her room.
Right.
Give her any role that you want. Wanda's like, I let her out of her room on Halloween. What do you want?
There's a really sad line that she does tell her. She was like, "My daughter can be friends with your boys if you like that storyline." And I'm like, ugh.
She's like, or she can be the bully, whatever you want her to be.
Right.
Dear Lord, let her out of her room. And Wanda's like, Agatha, you're making her saying this. And Agatha's like, she's your meat puppet. I just cut her strings.
Right. Fucking Agatha.
Meat puppet.
It's a terrible way to describe a human being. I'm just saying.
I mean, why call us humans? Call us meat puppets, what we truly are.
So then Agatha, she decides to remove all of the strings from all of the meat puppets. Pretty much all of the neighbors that we've seen through this whole time starts encircling Wanda, which to me was even giving me anxiety. I was just like, leave her. She's going through a lot. There's a lot happening right now. Just like, hold, 1 second, guys. 1 second.
I was trying to decide what they're called collectively, like Westviewians or Westians or Westjans.
Meat puppets.
Meat puppets. That's it.
That's
Done.
what we call them. So then we also, in the middle of this, and they always do this in this show where it's like something's happening, then they go to another part that you kind of got a taste of earlier.
Building the tension.
So Monica and Pietro, even Pietro calls this his room, upstairs room, a man cave. I don't think you could have a man cave upstairs.
I don't know how man caves work.
I mean, I don't either, but cave doesn't really seem like up.
And again,
Down.
old lounge furniture and a crappy tiki bar do not scream man cave to me. Agatha's just like thrown him in the attic and's been like, this is your man cave, baby.
Hey, he has a blender and a guitar. That's completely a man cave. And he has a beanie. So,
Oh, the beanie.
So during this, Monica's sitting there and she does some investigating and she sees that there's bills and mail addressed to somebody that's not Agatha. And she was like, wait, Agatha doesn't live here. You live here. By chance, there's a headshot.
There is a crisp Evan Peters headshot there waiting for her.
So, okay, guys. Everybody on the planet has been theorizing who Evan Peters really is. Do you know what the writers at Marvel said? No, none of that. His name is Ralph Boner.
Dabbing for justice.
Everybody got trolled by MCU writers, and I have to appreciate it because they could have done anything. They could have done any of the theories that we said, but they're like, you know what? It's just going to be a boner joke. Here we go.
And like any red-blooded American, when Pietro hears Ralph Boner, what does he say? Boner.
I hate him.
He's such a bro.
I can now say that because he's not Pietro in any shape or form, and he is this random dude, I hate him.
What we really need to discuss is the headshot and if he is in some sort of local theater company. What is Ralph Boner doing with his time?
Was he living with his parents, maybe? Because, like, how does somebody that just has headshots like that thrown about, and she probably picked up a collections bill, how does he afford that house?
Who is Ralph Boner? Okay, Ralph Boner lived in Westview his entire life, and his parents unfortunately passed away. They left him the house, which he does not take care of anymore, and he was so desperate for some love and attention, Agatha came in and was like, hey there, stranger, and then she zapped his head and made him her meat puppet, and then he just played guitar in the attic until she needed him to be Pietro.
I hate it.
But what about that acting career?
Oh my God. Ugh. So we see Monica, she asks, how is she controlling you? She uses her newfound powers to see that the necklace that he's had on is pretty much the talisman or the artifact that has been mind controlling him and possibly giving him these powers. So she does some amazing takedown move, rips off the necklace. She's good to go.
Like
She's
any
out.
good bro, his powers were in his puka beaded necklace.
Ew. Didn't you have a puka shell necklace?
I did not. I did
swear.
not have an official puka shell necklace.
Oh, wait.
I did in turn, I will be completely honest, I had a turquoise necklace.
Oh, okay.
Thank you very much, which
That's
I'm going to
worse.
start bringing back into rotation.
That's
Happy
worse.
2021.
Listeners, please let us know that.
Does Derek deserve the turquoise jewelry he so wants?
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes. They voted yes. I saw it already.
Every time there's something on a movie or somebody's wearing some turquoise
Don't
jewelry.
make me bring up Julie and Julia. Don't do it.
Stan Tucci in that movie wears this turquoise ring.
Beautiful ring.
And every single time Derek sees it, he's like, I want that ring. I'm going to get that ring.
I'm going to.
Why? I can't.
Why not? I'm a 35-year-old man, and it's time for me to start bringing turquoise into my life.
But then don't you have to go to like tanning beds and stuff? Like that's just like hand in hand with turquoise.
Listen, nobody can dictate what I will do with my turquoise. Thank you very much.
All right. So at this point, we see a little glimpse of Billy and Tommy and what they're doing. They're in the house, and Billy has some like visions of what's happening with Mom, and it doesn't look great. So then they leave. They're like, no, we have powers. Let's go help them. So back in downtown, all of the folks are still yelling grievances at Wanda. Like, when you let us sleep, we have your nightmares. We feel your pain. Your grief is poisoning us. All of the stuff that we assumed was happening throughout this entire series. So it's not great.
And one is like, I watered you. I fed you. I kept you alive. I put you in great clothes. Themed.
But like, we have to remember, though, that Wanda didn't mean to do this. So it's like all of the stuff that like just keeps happening. Like, she's realizing all of the things that, because like when she created this, which we found on the last one, she just created it. She didn't realize what she was doing or how the extent of what happened. And as the series went on, she was finding out more and more that like, oh, did I do this? I couldn't have done this.
Oh, true. But what these people need to realize is that Agatha is floating in the sky, shooting bolts of purple at them. Everybody, please form an orderly line, and we will take your complaints as you are giving them.
Wanda doesn't have time for that. We have Vision fighting over there. The boys are somewhere to be found. Agatha's up there screaming at her. Wanda freaks out. Her magic starts to choke the townspeople, which is not great. And as they're choking, Mrs. Hart is like, if you won't let us go, just let us die. And it's like, are you guys really in that much pain? Like, that sucks. Sorry.
I am thinking back to the first episode of WandaVision when they're at the table, and all Mrs. Hart keeps saying over and over and over again is, stop it. Stop it.
Yeah. It's not great.
Not cool.
Wanda's like, I'll let you go. And she starts opening up the hex.
Mhm.
And she's like, go, leave. But as she does this, as we saw from the previous episodes, that Vision up in the sky fighting Fission starts kind of disappearing, disintegrating, like slow snapping, if you will.
It's like a Lego tower coming apart piece by piece.
Right.
Little bricks come off of him.
And of course, he falls right next to Wanda. The boys were running to town square to help their mom. They start falling apart. So now we know for sure that they can't survive outside the hex either.
Anything that happens with the kids is just rude, in my opinion.
I mean, they kind of go through some shit in this one. It's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you do? I mean, as Wanda, she's there. She just got confronted by all these people. She's like, okay, I'm going to do the right thing. I'll let all of you go. And then she has the love of her life and her children disappearing because she's choosing to let all these people go. While fucking Agatha up there is just mocking her the whole time.
Right, yeah. Agatha's like, you've tied your family to this twisted world, and now one can exist without the other.
So, I hate it. So, I mean, what does she do? But she stops. Because she's like, I can't kill
her
them.
children are screaming in pain.
Yeah, like, Mom, help me.
Yeah.
Of course, any reasonable person, regardless of what you went through or where you stand, would do that. I mean, come on.
If Wanda doesn't get a number one mom button on Mother's Day, those kids got something coming to them.
So she stops it and she puts the hex back. So I guess the townspeople didn't get out because there's no way that they could run like 3 miles.
Yeah, they were running
minute.
real hard, but I don't know. Maybe they went to try and go get their kids and they're stuck in their houses again.
But just as the hex is closing, we see Sword and Hayward make their way into the hex. They saw this as an opportunity to make their move. Agatha sees that she stopped it. She tries to hit the whole family. So after she stops it and they all come to her in vision, like kisses her head and she's holding their children because she's like, I'm sorry. I didn't know that would happen, obviously. Agatha takes this opportunity to blast her with magic. And we get a great force field moment.
Love a force field moment. Bam. But then, of course, there's a force field of Wanda's power. And what does Agatha do? She takes that power and absorbs it.
She starts absorbing it. So now she has 2 Dumbledore hands. I said Dumbledore hands. Double Dumbledore hands. So at this point, all of the forces against them converge on them. We got Fission behind them. We have the Sword agents up there. And we have Agatha confronting Wanda. So what happens? Everybody takes their prospective villains at this point.
Family action pose.
Yep, Incredibles.
Absolutely, 100%. And then Vision blasts off with Fission. We see them get knocked into the library. And then Mommy Wanda says, boys, handle the military. And then Hayward gets out of his truck, pulls out a handgun.
A handgun with his full chest is about to shoot these 2 10-year-olds.
Are you kidding me? This guy has lost it. He's completely lost it. He's the one first of all, He's the only one putting pressure on himself to get Vision back as some sort of weapon.
And also to kill children.
Exactly.
Nobody asked him to do that.
This is his deal.
Is there not some like psych eval for these people that join it? Because I would assume that SWORD is somewhat of a military or government operation. So, I mean...
Maybe he passed, but then he lost his mind once Monica came back. He's like, oh no, I'm going to get demoted. Oh,
yeah,
Monica's back.
This dude obviously is compensating for something. Hate it. Hate him. I will say, and I'm not defending him in any way, I'm just saying like his thought process, maybe he was thinking because like she created him and they're not real. They're like, oh, what's the harm in killing these fake children? But even like, come on. That's still like they're real enough.
No, I think he just broke. He finally broke and is like, no holds barred. I'm fucking shooting people. He lost it.
And then right when he starts shooting, we get Monica step in front of the kids and block the bullets. So we see some more of her powers developing. And this is straight out of the comics, I will say, that she has done this before and she turns herself into like, I want to say like hard light in a way to slow down the bullets.
Oh.
And that scene that you see is like directly from a splash page in the comic. So
cool.
Super cool that they did that. One of the bullets gets past her and we see Billy stop it with his magic and drop it like a boss.
Stop it, drop it like a boss. I'm also rewriting my notes from, what did you call it? What did she change into?
Hard light?
Hard light. I had yellow jello, so that's much better.
Ew! How dare you?
It's like a flubber moment.
Yellow jello is usually like pineapple flavor, and that's disgusting.
Or lemon.
No.
Banana. Dun, dun, dun.
How dare you?
Sorry. And then Hayward, the coward that he is, jumps in a car, tries to back up, and then we hear, beep, beep, the funnel of love.
Mm-hmm.
Darcy crashes right into him, and she gives him a sweet one-liner, of course. Have fun in prison.
She had literally 5 seconds of screen time, and she used it to run into Hayward, and I love it.
Perfectly executed.
Unfortunately, that's the first and last time we see her in this series.
Yeah, that was kind of a letdown.
Right?
That
but
moment.
There was a lot going on, so it was more of, she's going to be in future projects. Thor, Love and Thunder is coming up. She'll be in there, I hope.
They're like, if you don't have powers in this episode, we can't do much with you.
Also, you've been in that truck for a while, so just use it and then leave.
She's been driving and driving for hours. All right, with that intensity, we need to take a break. So let's hear a word from our sponsors. Was your home destroyed in a fight between two all-powerful witches?
Need something to listen to while rebuilding the walls and slapping on a fresh coat of paint?
Why not listen to bonus content and become a patron of A Bite of?
Be like Christina, who took time to join us on Patreon.
Christina, it really means a lot to have your support.
Find out how to be crazy cool like Christina on abiteofpod.com. All right, welcome back from that commercial break. So now we pick up inside the library with Vision and Fission. And we have this dorm room philosophy talk with each other. It's like the scene itself is very Vision.
I am flabbergasted by the amount of structural damage they have done to this library.
Oh, yeah, you're a librarian, so...
They came crashing through the door, took down the circulation desk, started freaking lasering all the books, the columns. Oh, my God. What, they couldn't go crash through the crappy run-down movie theater?
I will say, though, that both Visions fighting in a library and not actually fighting, but having, a intelligent conversation was pretty cool to have it in a library. That is the perfect setting for Vision.
It's a meeting of the minds. Hello. As far as the philosophy, I have to admit that the first time I watched it, I was completely lost. The second time I watched it, I was like, rotting wood. Okay, got it. The third time I watched it, I was like, okay, I get it a little more. So I just did just a tiny bit of research on this. I found this article from November of 2019. And just in the introductory paragraph, it says, the ship of Theseus, also known as Theseus paradox, is a thought experiment that raises the question of whether an object that has had all of its components replaced remains fundamentally the same object. The paradox is most notably recorded by Plutarch in the Life of Theseus from the late 1st century. Plutarch asked whether a ship that had been restored by replacing every single wooden part remained the same ship.
Like, I get what he's trying to say.
Well, I think in the sense of them battling each other, right? They're equals.
Right.
Just that one is more human than the other.
Well, one is like actual vision. The other one is a conditional vision, which our vision that we've seen this entire series does tell white vision, fake vision, that I'm conditional vision. And then that's kind of what stops him to elaborate and talk more. So, yeah, I mean, but it is fitting for Vision to have this conversation.
What I'm saying is that as we saw in the fights prior to this, it's punch for punch. Right. They're equally matched physically. So our Vision knows that as far as physically, they're going to destroy each other. There isn't going to be a winner. So the way to get through to him is through words.
Right.
And philosophy.
Yeah, this is exactly what he did with Ultron. He's literally in comics had fights, quote unquote, fights where he talks his way out of them. So like this is pure Vision through and through, that he would use his mind and his words instead of his fists and his beams. So I like it. So at the end of this, what he pretty much does is he gives Vision all of the memories back.
And his eyes turn from robotic to
more
Paul
human-y?
Bettany's eyes.
Yeah, human-y, I guess. Yeah. But the strangest thing that happens in this episode is, so now we have two Visions. You know, one of them knows everything from Westview to this point. The other one knows everything that's happened. And I guess both of them do at this point if Vision was able to download all of that into the other one.
He like unencrypted the files or something.
Right. And so, but this white Vision flies off.
He says, I am the Vision. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Right through the roof.
Why? You would think that he would go and like smooch up on Wanda or something. Like he just leaves.
He's like, I left my coffee pot on.
Yeah. Did he leave something in the oven when he was cooking in like Civil War? Like what is happening?
He had to go. He had got to go.
Our Vision now reunites with Monica and the boys outside. Agatha is up on the rooftop, being diabolical as she has been this whole time. But Wanda does her classic Age of Ultron move where she sneaks up behind and mind whammies Agatha.
She says, sneaky, sneaky.
So suddenly we're back in the 17th century Salem, and this is where we saw Agatha in her origin story. And she's back at the stake. All of her dead coven and her mother, gross little corpsey witches, rise up. This scene is really well done. I liked it. I thought that it did feel very much like Age of Ultron Wanda, back to the beginning where we first were introduced to her, like that creepy illusion, mind-bending stuff. Loved it.
Totally. And we have our zitches, our zombie witches, coming back, and they're like crawling up to Agatha, who's going to be burned at the stake. And Agatha, I mean, maybe her and Mr. Boner met at the local theater.
Wait,
because
is she Agatha Boner?
Oh, yeah.
She said her husband was Ralph.
Agatha Boner. That's her name in the town, is Agnes Boner.
God. Anyway, sorry.
Anyway, so she puts on her acting chops. She's like, no, not again, not the zitches. And then sure enough, they all turn onto Wanda.
Right. I mean, good for Wanda for trying to do something that she thought she was a master at, but Agatha definitely was not. She hammed it up, and she knew that it wasn't going to work on her. So the turns have tabled, and now she's the one at the stake. So the Mama Witch tells her, "You are the Scarlet Witch, the harbinger of chaos."
Mama Witch.
I mean, she's Mama Witch. That's how else am I supposed to
I
describe
love it, Mama Witch.
I don't know her name. Unnamed dead witch. Agatha tells her that power is not your problem, it's knowledge, which is true. I mean, Wanda's pure power at this point. She doesn't have all the know-how to use all this magic that she has, but she can create realities and people and children out of nothing. Mm-hmm. So good for her.
Absolutely. So as they're kind of coming into Wanda on the stake, we see her start to struggle, and we see her Scarlet Witch crown begin to appear on her head. Mm-hmm. And Agatha says, "Give me your power and I will correct the flaws in your spell." But Wanda surely breaks out of the things that are confining her there, flies forward into Agatha, and they punch through into reality of Westview once again.
We're pretty much coming to the end of this series at this point. So both Agatha and Wanda are up in the air, and this is the showdown of the series. And we see Wanda throwing blast after blast at Agatha. Agatha is absorbing some, but some of them seem to be missing Agatha at this point, which is interesting. I mean, we know why.
But even Agatha's confused by it because it's like they're missing her by a long shot. And Agatha's like, what if she just throwing powers all over the place? She's lost her mind.
My God, she's dumb.
I mean, I knew she didn't have the knowledge, but this much.
She doesn't have the aim
She
either.
doesn't have the aim.
Yeah. Agatha then absorbs all of Scarlet Witch's powers, seemingly. And she tells her, once cast, a spell can never be changed. This world you made will always be broken, just like, pauses for emphasis again, you. So even when she tried to bargain with her throughout this entire episode, like, oh, give me your power and I'll change it, or I'll fix it, I'll take all the pain away. She was lying this whole time.
Totally.
You cannot trust Agatha, anything she's ever said. So the whole Dottie is the key to everything. Lie. She was just completely putting us as the viewers and Wanda on this wild goose chase on what's really happening.
Oh, she is a master of deception. It was Agatha all along, as we know. She knew in that first episode that she would never be able to make that pineapple upside down cake. Okay, all those ingredients and one index card of recipe? I don't think so.
I mean, yeah, she wanted chaos to happen. Just as Agatha's about to fire a huge blast at her, it doesn't work.
It goes...
Yeah, she can't conjure anything. Wanda, she starts to smile a little bit. And then we see her Dumbledore hands turn back to Wanda hands. And then we see that runes were on the hex.
Runes?
Yeah, and Agatha does like, runes?
Runes? Runes. So she was like, I was listening to you, Agatha. You taught me this, you fool.
Right, yeah. Once the witch that casts the runes in a given space, that's the only person that can use magic. I will say that it's cool that she did that. Because it's like, oh, you did learn something. And that literally the reason why Agatha did this in the series was for this moment. So they wrote that in to have Wanda eventually use this to best Agatha. So it's pretty cool. She did learn it.
Oh.
She used it against her.
100%. I completely agree. And they're quite large and in charge. Chunky yet funky.
So she says, thanks for the lesson, but I don't need you to tell me, pauses for emphasis, who I am. A lot of pausing for emphasis in this episode. I love it. I'm here for it. Mm-hmm.
You really got to punch those lines through so people get what we're saying.
Yeah. And so Wanda's powers get sucked back up into her from Agatha, transferring all of that Scarlet Witch redness back into her. And then we get Scarlet Witch, full on, full headdress, full costume, full everything. Scarlet Witch.
And as that change is happening, we see the vision that Wanda had when she first comes in contact with the Mind Stone, sort of that like silhouetted Scarlet Witch with the glowing outline.
So this is what it was all leading to, at least at this point. This is her big momentous story point. So as this happens, Agatha says, oh God, you don't know what you've done. So I think this moment and then one other moment is when Agatha is telling the truth, that Agatha does obviously know more than she's letting on. And whatever Wanda just did right now, becoming the full Scarlet Witch, is probably not a great idea.
You don't know what you've done. So much leather.
You don't know what you've done. You've gotten more powerful than me.
Oh, dang it.
How dare you? So then Wanda lowers them to the ground with kind of just dropping Agatha like 10 feet from the ground, which I laughed every time I watched it. It was not nice on Wanda's part, but that's what you get, Agatha.
Something I've noticed is that once you become a powerful witch and you're showing your true self, you get the full witch perm. Mm-hmm. Okay? Your hair is scrunchy and a little curly, and that means no one can mess with you because we have both Agatha full blown out, and we also have the Scarlet Witch with glorious mane of hair.
Yeah, it is witch hair. Yeah, that's true. They both have the same hair.
Yeah.
Just different colors.
Yep. Yep.
So Agatha asks if Wanda is going to lock her up somewhere, but Wanda just says that she'll give Agatha the role you chose, the nosy neighbor. Agatha is like, you have no idea what you have unleashed. You're going to need me. And I love this line that Wanda says, if I do, I know where to find you. Then she mind whammies Agatha into Agnes again. So she's back where she started, but this time she didn't make that decision.
Okie dokie, artichokey. I love it. We
It's
missed
great.
that little kind of silly, nosy neighbor. We needed that again, and I appreciated it.
Yeah, and at this point, I would be very shocked if we don't see Agatha again in the MCU.
Well, I think that kind of raises the bigger question, things that we've spoken about a little bit, about sort of the origin of Agatha Harkness in the comics and how she really is her mentor. She's Wanda's mentor, and we don't really see that in this. So this can kind of give us the leeway to that maybe happening again in the future.
She was like some like unintentional pseudo mentor for her because she kind of taught her about runes. She taught her about who she was. She had the Darkhold, which she eventually gets. And it's like, she did train her, but I don't think that Agatha meant to train her.
Yeah, that definitely wasn't the main point of her being there in Westview, was to bring about the Scarlet Witch and help her.
Yeah, Wanda's like, oh, I'm a witch too, so I can use those runes. Okay, here we go. Thanks.
Right. We kind of now are leading into our sort of heartbreaking ending here, because Vision looks at Wanda and he says, I know you'll set everything right, just not for us.
Right. And the Vision clan starts walking back home. And as we see as they're walking home, the hex starts receding. And they get home, they change into their normal clothes. And this ending is really hard to watch. Like, even we've watched it multiple times. We've had a watch party. We watched it like early Friday morning, so we couldn't get spoilered. And we watched it again before doing this. So seeing this scene and what it meant. So Vision and Wanda take Billy and Tommy upstairs and put them in bed. I mean, I don't know about you, but if like I was a kid and I just like went through all this stuff, I'd be like super jazzed and hyped up and not wanting to go to bed. But so they take him to bed and they have a really sweet conversation. And Wanda pretty much tells him, like, family's forever. Like, we can never leave even if we wanted to. I hate that.
Yeah, and it's really sweet. They kiss them goodnight. They stand up, they switch, they kiss the other twin goodnight. They walk to the door, and Wanda looks back, and she sees the hex closing in outside of their bedroom window. And she says, boys, thanks for choosing me to be your mom.
They literally put them in bed in hopes that they'd be asleep. That way they wouldn't know what's happening.
Awful.
Yikes.
Yeah.
She went through all of this stuff. She had the kids. She defeated the villain, and she can't. She can't have what she wanted. The one thing that she wanted, and she's still not able to have it. But it doesn't end there. So were you starting to cry at this point?
Yes.
Let's get even more sad. So Wanda goes into the living room, starts turning off lights, but Vision enters and turns them back on. He just wants to see her clearly. And he pretty much said that he read somewhere that it's bad. It's not good to say goodbye in the dark. And she's like, really?
She says, no, you didn't.
Yeah, he's like, I just wanted to see you. I'm like, oh.
And your boy Vision's looking tight, okay? He's got a sweet hunter green turtleneck on. He's showing off his muscles. He's like, hey, boo. Bye, I guess.
Going out in style. That's
Exactly.
That's what he said. So the couple goes to the window. They hold hands. And as they see the hex coming towards them, he says, Wanda, I know we can't stay like this, but before we go, I must know, what am I? And she replies to him, you are the piece of the Mind Stone that lives in me, a body of wires and blood and bone that I created, and my sadness and my hope, but mostly you're my love. It's so sad.
It's so sad. And as she's saying this, she brings her hand up to his face, and then he touches her hand with his, and you clearly see his wedding ring on his finger. In this life that they created, in this home, and they know that this is the last few moments that they'll have there together.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
He then tells her in this moment, I have been a voice with no body, a body but not human, and now a memory made real. A single tear goes down his cheeks, and then he says, who knows what I might be next? Said goodbye before, so it stands to reason. We'll say hello again. I can't. And then the nail in the coffin, right when the hex reaches them and everything starts disintegrating, and you see him literally leaving and going away, he says, so long, darling. And he goes away. And I can't. And her hands were on his face, and she's still standing there when he's gone, and her wedding ring is still there. And then the next moment when we see her, she's in the clothes when she first started this. She's in the empty lot when she first got to Westview, and then the wedding ring is gone. So the wedding ring was the last thing to leave her hand. And it was like, oh my God.
And as this is happening, the camera is shifting around them, and we're seeing their home flash through all of the decades that they lived there together, creating the life that she so desperately wanted for them. And when it all fades, all she is standing in the foundation of what could have been, just a blueprint of what they wanted together.
So sad.
So sad.
She got through her grief. She defeated her grief for what she needed to go through. And she's literally back in the same spot when she first started, hopefully stronger, and she grew in whatever way that might be. I mean, she is a Scarlet Witch now, so that's cool. So then she goes into town and trying to be like, she puts her hood on and has to walk through all of the people that she unintentionally mind controlled this whole time. She walks straight through them, goes right up to Monica, and then they actually have a really nice conversation. We get this closure with them, or at least with their story together. And Monica pretty much tells her, like, they'll never understand what you sacrificed. Like, they won't. And she tells her, like, if I had your power, I would bring my mom back. Any reasonable person that has ever lost anybody would do the same thing. There's no way that nobody wouldn't do that. You know, how unintentional the consequences are, you'd still do it.
I think it's the human experience of grief that brings them to the same level. I know what you've been through. You've lost someone important to you, and I have as well. And that's why I can see what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, Wanda just walks into the middle of town. Oh my God, these people hate you, lady.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I would have flown out the back.
She had I'm sure she was going to Monica.
Oh, just fly Monica by. Just keep
Send
going.
a mind message or
Exactly.
something. Sirens wail in the background, and then Wanda's like, well, that's my cue. I am not going to clean up anything or say sorry to anybody. I'm just going to skip out. So she leaves, she flies out, and she takes one last look at Westview. End of series. But wait, there's more.
There's more.
So in the mid-credit sequence, we see Jimmy telling the newly arrived FBI what to do. So he's really taken on the authority figure, and Monica comes up and is like, authority looks good on you. I'm hoping that he gets a bigger role going forward. Like Ant-Man, the third one is happening at some point. He should be in there, and he needs to show Scott Lang his newfound magic tricks.
Ant-Man, the Wasp, and Woo. That's the new title.
Or just Jimmy Woo. I just wanted Jimmy Woo.
Ant-Man 3, The Chronicles of the Magician Jimmy Woo.
I hope he grows into like a more prominent role, or at least like the Nick Fury, you know what I mean, where he always shows up and you can always count on him.
Mm.
So while she's talking to Jimmy, we don't see Darcy again. She's just gone.
Yeah, debriefs are for fools or whatever.
This random agent comes up to them and tells Monica, like, oh, they want to meet you in the theater. One, who's he, them, who wants to meet me? That's what I would ask.
Nobody told me we were having a meeting in the theater. How dare you?
She goes into the theater, and this agent is secretly a Skrull, which relates directly into Captain Marvel. So it wouldn't be a Marvel anything if it wasn't at the base or at some point setting up for future projects. Like we expected something to be setting this up. We knew that WandaVision was supposed to lead directly into Doctor Strange 2. Yes, we have to wait a year, but it's still leading there. But now we get to see that this is also going into Captain Marvel 2, because she says, I was sent by a friend from your mother's. He wants to speak with you. And he's like, where is she? Or where is he? And she points up.
The roof.
Just the roof. He's upstairs.
He's upstairs.
Yeah. But I'm pretty sure that this is Nick Fury. It's either Nick Fury or one of the other people from Captain Marvel, but I'm pretty sure it's Nick Fury, because one of the last times we see him is he's on one of the Skrull ships in space. So it stands to reason that it's probably Nick Fury.
Sure.
Right. But I was also wondering if this Skrull, because she did look a lot like the little girl Skrull that was on the stairs with her in Captain Marvel when she was younger. That would be cool. I feel like it is, but somebody in our watch party was like, they would have said something if it was. I was like, don't crush my hopes.
Let me have this. I want this full circle moment for Monica.
End of credit scene. But wait,
there's more.
There's still more. I'm just like, at this point, I'm just waiting for Marvel to like just make the entire credits one post-credit scene.
I think that there should be one Marvel movie that is literally all credits, but every 2 seconds is another scene of a different cutscene of a movie.
Oh, I like that.
Right? So you're like, oh my God, it's ending already, but no, wait. And then it goes, oh, what? And then it goes again.
It's just like comic books where there's like an issue, like you could only read this character in the back of an issue of a comic. That's how this entire movie is going to be.
Exactly.
This one, cameras are soaring over the mountains and trees somewhere. We don't really know where.
We think Sokovia.
Maybe. I would think so.
She went back home.
Right. And we see this remote cabin and we see Wanda sitting on the stairs. As the camera starts going closer, we hear a kettle going off. Wanda walks in, gets some tea, but then it goes into the room and then we see Wanda full on astral projecting Scarlet Witch going through the Darkhold, reading up on who she is, and then we hear her kids cry out for her. And then it ends.
Oh.
So that one was crazy.
Yeah.
That post-credit scene is bonkers.
So my question is, what is she doing while she's back there? Is she just reading the book, or is she going through multiverses looking for her children to find them where they exist again?
Right. I think, so this is a direct call to Doctor Strange. Because there was a scene in the Doctor Strange movie where he's sleeping when he's training with the Ancient One, and he's sleeping, but he astral projects to keep reading books. So that's exactly what she's doing. So I don't know the extent of all the multitasking they can do. Like, is she reading, you know what I mean? And then also searching the multiverses? Because it's like she's looking here, her hands are doing other things. There's a bunch of like symbols around that I don't speak Latin, so I'm pretty sure that's what it's in. I don't know.
Or are they runes?
Right. So who knows? But I think we can probably infer that since the Doctor Strange one is going to be Multiverse of Madness, and if the multiverse is coming, that she might be looking for her kids in the multiverse, which I don't know how that's going to work. Like, if they do exist in the multiverse, don't they have a Wanda?
She's stealing her from another Wanda?
I mean, could be.
Or maybe she's just figuring out a way through magic for them to exist from within the hex to outside the hex. So maybe she's seeing them call out for her within the hex in WandaVision, but now she knows how to extract them so they can exist on the outside.
Once a spell is cast, you can't undo it or change it.
But what if you cast another spell and runes? There's always runes.
Oh my God.
And Senor Scratchy.
Oh yeah, where'd he go?
Where's Senor Scratchy?
All right, so we're having a wrap-up episode after this one, so look out for that one. We're going to be going more in depth with where we think things are going, some of the plot lines that kind of just dropped in WandaVision and we didn't really get to. So that one's going to be a lot of fun, and we also will be announcing the next thing we will be taking a bite of in that one. So definitely tune in if you want to find out.
Absolutely. And I'm also going to do more research and give a 30-minute speech on the ship of Theseus.
No, God, no.
So get ready for ships, barnacles, wood, and metal.
Don't worry, guys. I'll edit it out. It's fine. You don't have to listen to that.
Hashtag rudeness.
Whatever. So, of course, before we go, we do have one other thing in Derek's lovely segment. But if you've been with us this entire time on WandaVision in this journey, feel free to leave us a review. And we do want to give shout outs to people that give us reviews. We don't know who you are, especially on iTunes. It doesn't tell us depending on what your username is. So at the very bottom, if you want to put your Twitter handle or your Instagram handle, whatever it is, we'll give you a shout out and post it because we love knowing who gave us these, even though they're anonymous.
You're awesome and people need to know.
Right, exactly.
Heck yeah. Without further ado, it's time.
The final.
For
Oh my God.
Mystery Marvel.
Did you literally pause for emphasis just like everybody did?
That's what I was taught. That is what good acting is. Ralph Boner taught me that in the Boner School of the Arts.
We're not going to be talking about Boner anymore after this.
Well, I thought that it would be super fitting to talk about someone that we all thought or hoped or sort of theorized would be in this series, the one and only supervillain, Mephisto.
Right.
So Mephisto's here. He's in a gorgeous scarlet unitard that is very form-fitting, and he has a cape and quite the large collar.
Yeah.
He's the devil?
Yeah.
I guess you could say.
He's the devil of the, not MCU, the Marvel comic universe.
So his real name, Mephisto, is Archibald Weathersby. His first appearance...
Ralph Boner.
That's what we all wanted. Pietro. His first appearance was in Silver Surfer Volume 1, Number 3, in October of 1968.
Yeah, he's been around for a while.
That's crazy. And let's talk about some power ratings. This man is hitting 7 on every single rating except for fighting ability.
He doesn't need to. He's literally the devil. He can do anything.
He only has a 1. Like literally the lowest.
He does not lift a finger.
He just like smirks at people.
Exactly. Make a deal with me.
So here's his little bio. Even the very master of all that is evil will become the servant of another when it suits his plan. For that is what Mephisto did when he aided the villainous Thanos in the battle for the all-powerful Infinity Gauntlet. Secretly planning to steal the gauntlet from Thanos, Mephisto was defeated along with the temporary master. But still, he lurks in the shadowy places of the cosmos, ever planning new treachery. For wherever evil is found, there walks Mephisto.
I mean, he's the shadow, he is the darkness, he is the devil. He also has like terrible ties to Wanda. Because if you remember from our very first episode we did, technically the first iteration of her children were parts of his soul.
Oh, sure.
And then they weren't real anymore. And then she like broke reality and blah, 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 all that. So he's not great, especially to Wanda. So
are we ready for the quote?
Yes. I love it.
It is not fever that chills your bones, but the presence of Mephisto, Lord of Evil.
I mean, okay. That's probably one of the better ones that, it's not bad. I've never heard something like that before. It's not great, but it's original.
The fever that chills your bones, it's me. Hi.
Which is interesting because he's the devil and you associate hot, not cold.
Fever chills, Mephisto chills.
Oh man, that was our last Mystery Marvels. Or is it?
Dun, dun, dun.
So again, we have that wrap-up episode coming up. So send in your questions and we'll see you then.
Bye.
Bye.
Noah. Be sure to subscribe and follow us on Instagram at A Bite of Pod and on Facebook at A Bite of. If you have questions, recommendations, or just want to say hi, you can email us at abiteofpod@gmail.com. You can find us on all podcast platforms. Please be sure to rate and review to spread the word. Hope you join us next time on A Bite of. Bye.